So under a variety of statutes, policies, federal laws, we monitor student behavior in our schools closely. We know when students get in trouble. Usually it's when they're not where they're supposed to be. They're in a bathroom 20 minutes after class has started, and all the other classrooms are full of kids who are learning. They happen in stairwells, when a child's in a stairwell where they're not supposed to be, and all the children are in the classroom where they are supposed to be. That's the preponderance of where we have discipline problems. We don't have problems in the classroom of children having their clothing removed or being bullied, because that's where the adults are that are supervising them. It's when children stray from where they're supposed to be that we begin having trouble. Well, we do a lot to prevent that.
Why?
This is a business meeting.
Why?
We do a lot to prevent that. We spend a great deal of money on security systems. We spend a great deal of money on security officers and on security personnel. And their work is to ensure the children are where they're supposed to be and they're in class and that they're behaving the way they're supposed to behave. But when that doesn't happen, children do become victims of a variety of indiscipline incidents, and they can be incidents of bullying, they can be incidents of skipping class, a whole range of things. And we have a policy manual that we ask parents to sign, and we ask children to sign. And that policy manual prescribes where children are supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing, what the consequences are when they don't do that. And it also talks to parents about that, because we're not alone in this job. Gangs don't start in schools. They start in communities. They start in households. Indiscipline may take place in schools, but it begins in a variety of locations. And so we expect to be full partners with parents and the community when we deal with problems of gangs, bullying, indiscipline, and all these other matters. And so when we look at security tapes, we know what's going on. And when we get statements from students who say they didn't see anything, and then we can see them on cameras, we take action. And in a variety of situations recently, we have taken action. We've suspended children from school immediately without any witness statement from victims. The victim did not cooperate in many, many cases. The victim did not provide information of children's names in many, many cases. In fact, they gave statements that said they didn't know anybody. But when we see them on TV cameras, we take action, and they're put out of school. They're put out of school under the policies of this district, which are prescribed and signed to by parents and students, called the Policy Handbook of Huntsville City Schools. Now, when this is a business meeting. Now, when people ask for transfers, there's policies that prescribe that as well. They're outlined in the Parent-Student Handbook. If a safety transfer is required, that's governed by state statute, and we have to have evidence. We don't just move children between schools. We need evidence, because the evidence also leads to the cleaning up of the schools and the removal of children who cannot behave. There's no evidence in many of the situations we've heard of recently. We have videotape, and that's all we have, and the videotape doesn't cover necessary areas of the schools. So we take action, and we remove people when we have evidence, and we have cooperative folks who give us names, and the kids are gone. That's the way the system works. And when it works properly, you see a decline in indiscipline, and that's what we do see. So when one looks at the schools for the first 7 weeks of the year last and the year before last, one can see we're down 60% from last year in terms of indiscipline that would be characterized by fighting the natures of things that are listed on this chart: threats, disorder, harassment, menacing. We're down 40% from 2 years ago. And the reason we're down is the cooperation of parents, the cooperation of teachers, children who are where they need to be, security systems and staff who are making sure they're where they need to be. But again, we need the cooperation of parents, and we need the cooperation of community. Schools don't do it alone. We do a great deal, and a great deal is being done. We had a nice presentation here last week on gangs in our community. There was never an idea that gangs begin in our schools, but they do come in. And it's our job to deal with them when they're in our schools, but of course we need to help the parents and community and so forth to deal with them when they're not in our schools. Bullying, that doesn't begin in our schools. It comes into our schools. Now, it may take place in a bathroom, it may take place in a stairwell, it may take place in a hallway. And when we take notice of it, we take action against it. And that action's a variety of things, from education and a No Place for Hate program to suspending and disenrolling students. And those students are brought before disciplinary action immediately when we have information we can action. So these are the results that we see, and these are the results that are governed by law and statute and policy. And so when we have the cooperation of folks, we can draw that green bar down even further. So many good things are also happening in Huntsville City Schools. For example, today we had the help of over 600 hours of volunteers who went into our schools to read to children in our pre-K programs. Volunteers came from all over our city, all over our school system, and so they're helping us build strong kids, strong relationships with adults, and a future that's going to be very bright for those kids. So we work to educate kids in our classrooms, and that's where the reading took place today. And we work to improve the behavior of children, both in the classrooms and when they're not in classrooms where they belong. And we will continue to do that. Thank you.
The board meeting is adjourned.